Hi everyone. Welcome to Mother's Intuition. Today's Tuesday, and happy Tuesday to you. Hope you're having a wonderful week so far. I'm wearing my baby wrap just in case I need to go get my little one. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here with you today for another quick. I'm gonna do a quick episode today because my older 2-year-old needs to be woken up soon from a nap, and I don't know how long my infant will sleep, so we'll see. But I just wanted to hop on really quick. Something that has been on my mind lately is TV watching and media in general influences on adults and kids. So I really wanted to hop on and talk a little bit about that today. So before I get into anything, I want to quickly say a prayer to get us started and ask for guidance from Mother Mary as once again, I talk about how she's so important, an influence to myself as the mother of Christ. I hope that she can pray for our intercession as mothers and help us raise the next generation of awesome people. So, in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And hopefully in a further episode, I'll get into some really nice saints that we can pray to for intercession as mothers. I have a couple really fun saint books that I kind of peruse once in a while just to get some inspiration. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about TV and the media and children in particular, but also even adults, us and our influences. I think one thing that really got my train of thought moving in this direction was I know everyone's talking about it, but the Super Bowl halftime show that recently came out, a lot of uproar and applause in both directions. People either are really complimentary and saying this is an amazing show or really critical of the halftime show. I didn't watch it. I don't not really a football fan anyway, and I purposely avoided it even after I heard so much commentary on it because I want to avoid that type of thing. I'm trying to keep myself from watching that really scandalous, not so great stuff. But I had a chance to talk about it with my husband, and we both kind of came to the conclusion that yes, probably not appropriate, especially for the audience. People, letting their kids watch the Super Bowl. There's lots of kids watching it, and no warning that the show is going to be risque. But the other issue is that okay, yeah, this was inappropriate for the audience, but all just how I guess desensitized as a culture we've become to that sort of thing as public broadcasts. So he brought up the good point of cheerleaders. We have these cheerleaders who stand there. I mean, in high school football match or game or any game, a cheerleader stand there and their job is to get the crowd wild up and everything. You don't need that cheerleading aspect at a giant NFL stadium because everyone is the cheerleader. I mean, you never hear a quiet second in any football game like that. The magnitude of the crowd is just insane. And frankly, I mean, I've seen cheerleaders at like hockey games before, and I'm like, what are they doing? They're just dancing around, flitting around their scantily clad outfits. It's just become this big thing where they need to have it, and I frankly don't see that. And so, just in general, I feel that we've just become desensitized as a culture to what is appropriate and not appropriate for TV. And it's gone really, really far. And I guess one of the big things I want to point out today is just the moral ambiguity in TV in general for adult audiences. And it's getting closer and closer to children audiences. But specifically for adults, it's just where's the bar? There's no bar anymore. So we are watching TV shows that are constantly not only showing people naked, completely naked, but I mean, Game of Thrones, one of my favorite books, also TV show Outlander. I mean, people are just completely nude. It's there's no filter anymore. I mean, then we have this halftime show, and it's like, well, okay, is it that strange? We have this halftime show, but there's so many TV programs now that have people just walking around completely naked and full sex scenes that, frankly, are not that different from pornography. So that's a big issue in my opinion, and I feel like it's just gotten worse and worse and worse throughout culture and society. And I'm going to wrap around to kids in just a second. I just want to say a couple more things, and I'm trying to make this video like I said, like 15 minutes or less. Last time I went on for a long time. So I'm just going to start with me personally. So I am a big TV watcher. There's a reason why we don't have one in our living room anymore. When we moved, we made a family decision not to have one because I am a TV addict. I will binge watch everything, especially sitcoms, big sitcom fan. Friends was my favorite show completely as a teenager into adulthood. I had it on repeat, pretty much have every episode memorized. I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's a guilty pleasure. It's a guilty pleasure for a reason. It's so unhealthy. I mean, even with my laptop, I'll just sit with Netflix, something playing in the background, and I waste so much time. So that's been a big struggle for me personally, is trying to overcome that addiction to TV, and especially the addiction to TV. It's a funny sitcom, it's a comedy, it's lighthearted, but just some of the content, the stuff they talk about is just so it's just such a big waste of time, and it's mind rotting. I talked to I used to teach middle school, and I used to talk to my middle school students about this, that what we watch on TV, what we expose our minds to, is like what we eat in our body. If you're eating junk food, your body kind of goes to mush. If you're watching junk stuff, junk TV, whatever it is, your mind is going to mush. And frankly, that's what happens to me a lot, is I get in these binge watching things, watching these awful TV shows. And I really, after we moved and stopped having a TV, I'd put something on occasionally just to mindlessly watch something. And I realized that I really didn't like a lot of the stuff I was watching. It was just garbage shows that have no moral backing, and the meanings and messages are just so mixed. And like I said before, it's so morally ambiguous. I'm using that word right, Matt? Ambiguous, yes. Morally ambiguous, because there's no standard anymore. And these certainly are not Christian shows. I mean, I would be very interested to find some good Christian programs that are, also entertaining. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a whole lot out there. So I just, I personally tried to just avoid watching TV as much as possible lately. I still break once in a while, but I mean, just my example of Friends. I love the show. Don't get me wrong. One of my favorite shows of all time. However, just the fact that these characters are constantly just in these really sleazy, I mean, not necessarily sleazy, but very morally ambiguous relationships, dating person to person to person, act like it's no big deal. It's not a problem. The girls are doing it. The guys are doing it. Everyone's doing it. It's what society wants us to do. It's totally fine. Everyone's supposed to act this way. Seinfeld, same thing. There was a whole episode about, there was like this 30-year-old virgin, and that was like, what? Crazy, a 30-year-old virgin? That's insane. Friends had an episode about this too. And it makes it seem like if you are in a long committed relationship, or if you wait until marriage to have sex, it is not okay. There's something wrong with you. And this is a message that's been propagated through so many shows. And just, a bunch of stuff like this. There's always a male character in a lot of these sitcoms who's just completely this like male bimbo who just dates and dates and dates and has all these different partners. And once again, it's just supposed to be a lighthearted comedy. Oh, it's so funny. This guy is such a sleazy guy. And yet we're exposing ourselves to this. And for me personally, I watched this when I was a teenager, or a lot of these shows when I was a teenager. I know this may sound a little silly and stupid, but it kind of convinced me that it was okay because society says it's okay. It's on TV. It's TV. I know it's fictional, but when you have repeated messages of this throughout TV and everything saying it, and your friends are saying it, all of society is saying it, this is how we're supposed to behave, you just end up convincing yourself that it's normal and okay. And it's Satan. Satan is controlling this. The devil, demons are saying this is okay. This is the message we want you to have. Jesus and the Bible are just so outdated, and I'm sure God will understand. Times have changed. All these messages that we've been told and are propagated through the media over and over and over again, through TV shows, movies, music, you name it. These are the messages that we have heard since we were teenagers. And now our children are hearing these messages, and not from the same TV shows, obviously, because those are long gone. But what I'm really finding is a lot of shows meant for children, or teens, I would say a lot, so more so with teens, are sending these messages that are just really inappropriate, age inappropriate. So I want to start with a little bit of science. I actually have the Baby Center website. If you are a mother of a baby, you've probably used this app or seen this website. Just a lot of good tips for parents. And I, know not all of it could be 100% accurate, but this one has a quote from the American Academy of Pediatrics. So it's about setting reasonable media limits for children. So this is just a general, like, what we should go by in terms of how much TV our children should be watching. And then we can go from there in terms of what they should be watching. So limit TV or screen time. Most parents say that children watch 2 or more hours of TV today, despite a recommendation from the American Academy of Pediatrics that kids ages 2 to 5 should spend no more than an hour a day with screens of any kind, TV, tablet, phone, or computer. So it's ages 2 to 5. And then it also says that the AAP recommends that no screens at all for children younger than 18 months. And it says, to keep their child's brain from going on autopilot, make sure it's broken into 10 to 15 minute increments, and keeping screens out of the bedroom, off during mealtime, and setting rules as they get older, and make sure another one is make watching TV a privilege. It's not an expectation. And it was somewhere else on here. Make them inconvenient. So like ours is downstairs in the basement, and it's an unfinished basement. So first of all, it's not very comfortable going down there anyway, but it's not in our normal play areas. It says simple programming is good. It's a whole thing in here. But somewhere else in here, it talks about parent involvement as well. So when you have a TV show going for your toddler, be involved in watching it. I know it's easier said than done because it's really easy babysitter. I mean, we all know this, those of us who have kids, it's very easy to just put the show on and then be able to go fold laundry, take a shower, make dinner. I mean, it's so convenient. And that's what makes this so hard, such a hard conversation to have. And once again, this is not a judgment show. I'm not here to judge what you do as a parent. I'm just hopefully giving you some tips and ideas to help your life be easier, and to just give you an idea of what's happening out there, what should we or not be doing. It also said make sure not only you're watching it with them to see what they're watching, but also to involve in conversation. If you put on Daniel Tiger, take a quick second. If it's streaming, which I mean 90% of the time we're streaming anyway, pause it, have a quick conversation about the message they're sharing in the show. A lot of those shows are really short anyway. Pause it after an episode. Oh, what do you think Daniel liked today? Or why did Daniel act this way? Was he being kind or rude when this happened? Have some of those conversations so it's not just like the Peanuts teacher or adult. It should be something meaningful. It's a learning opportunity. TV hopefully is not just there for a babysitter. It is hopefully there for a learning opportunity. And once again, I know this is easier said than done, but here's some things that my 2-year-old, we're just starting this whole TV journey. It started with Elmo. We got our stuffed toy Elmo. We started listening to it on Alexa over there. And we were listening to his songs and some Elmo apps on there for games that you can play with him. And she just became in love with Elmo. So of course I'm like, oh, Sesame Street, let's start with that. Has letters of the day, numbers of the day, really good in terms of talking about helping out, chores, good and bad, things like that, and easy messages about sharing and all those good things. And a lot of times at the grandparents' house, they'll put on something for her to watch occasionally as well. She likes Clifford and Curious George and Daniel Tiger. But I'm really, really trying to limit it to one 15-minute block a day, if at all. It's a privilege. And so if she has a screaming, yelling, kicking temper tantrum, there's no TV. It's a treat. I literally say Lillian and TV watching is a treat. And so this is something that we make sure that it's not an everyday thing. And when the summer hits, in the wintertime, we're a little stuck. And I have a newborn, so it's a little different. But in the summertime, we're never, ever, ever inside. So it's going to be, a slim to no TV watching probably at all anyway, because she loves being outside so much. So it's not going to be an everyday thing. I put it in the basement for a reason. And like I said, when we first moved here, we purposely said no TV upstairs at all. We have this beautiful window that looks out into the woods. So that's we don't need a TV. But then we had 6 to 7 months where we didn't even have the TV hooked up, and it was glorious because it was never an option. It wasn't, Mom, you want to watch Elmo? Well, the TV's not hooked up, so there's no Elmo. And now we have it. So I mean, we have it. It's nice. It's kind of a leverage for certain things, but I still a little bit don't like it. And some of the stuff I want to just talk about in terms of kids, like I said, make sure you know what your kids are watching. Like I said, I could ramble about this for a long time, but it's difficult because there's a lot of hidden messages in even kids shows. And yeah, as a Christian, as a Catholic, it's really hard because I feel like a lot of these moral ambiguous relation or agendas and topics are even being filtered into kids TV. And I'm not going to get really in depth in a lot of that right now, but just in general, the one that kind of triggered this for me was Sesame Street just posted something on their Facebook page. I forget the guy's name. You could look it up. They're in season 51. It was just a recent post. They had I think he's a fashion designer. So this really big icon fashion designer. He's a transgender man, or maybe he's not transgender. He's an LGBT activist, and he wears a lot of dresses and things like that. A lot of people I talked to said, well, he's in fashion and it shouldn't matter. Maybe they're just spreading a message of caring. And yes, that's true. I hope they spread messages about caring for one another. That's very important. But what I don't like in general is topics that are way too mature being introduced to audiences that are way too young. I said this in one of my previous episodes. We need to draw a line of what's appropriate and what's not, what's age appropriate and what's not. We wouldn't have a in-depth discussion with a toddler about violent crimes that go on in the United States. We're not going to have an in-depth discussion with a toddler about, even where do babies come from? A lot of people are like, well, yeah, I'm not going to tell what anatomy part a baby comes out of. And why don't we talk about these things? Because it's too hard for their tiny little minds to wrap around. Even like things like death. How do you explain to a toddler what death is? It's too big of a concept. Their brain is very, just developing. They're just learning these things. So, and the vocabulary, they have very limited vocabulary. So these are things why it's important to make sure we're being very sensitive about when we introduce certain topics to kids. And I think one of those big things is sexuality. Children should not be exposed to what sexuality is. It's too abstract and inappropriate of a concept. We need to have some sort of line with our kids. And even though, yes, I do think it's important to teach our children to be kind to everyone, no matter what they dress like, no matter, what they act like, we need to be kind to one another. But I don't need to introduce what transgenderism is to my 2-year-old. I think that is way too inappropriate. And it's just not necessary. And the saddest thing I think about a lot of these shows is they have no problem introducing, what transgenderism is, what LGBT is. You know, Sexuality is just such an abstract concept to a 2-year-old. They don't need to know what a heterosexual or homosexual is. They just should be taught be kind to one another. And the saddest thing to me is we're not sitting here watching a show with Jesus, giving Elmo advice, because it's just not. That wouldn't be, I think, well taken with a lot of people because not everyone's Christian, and I get that, but we are taking we're allowing our kids to be victims of a lot of this subliminal messaging. And I think it's really important that we kind of think about that and watch what our kids are watching. There are a lot of TV shows out there, and I know it's really hard to filter through it all. I'm having a lot of trouble with that. That's why I'm really trying to discern what exactly we should and should not let our daughter watch. We haven't quite figured it out yet, especially with movies and things like that. But I just want to give a message out there. Just see what your kids are watching, make purposeful decisions about what they're watching, especially as they get older. If you have teens, really be careful because there's a lot of inappropriate messaging for our teenagers. That's very confusing for them. I taught middle school, and I had a 7th grader tell me that he went and saw Deadpool that weekend with his mom, and I cringed. If you've seen Deadpool, it's full of the most vulgar content I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, when I told him, I'm like, you shouldn't watch that. why? What's the matter? I'm like, literally don't understand. You don't understand what they are talking about in the show. And he just argued with me, yes, I do. No, you don't. You don't understand it. It's if they made a joke about driving a car, you've never driven a car. So how would you understand that? So these are just things we need to be aware of as parents, that our kids may act mature and we might want to be their friends and things like that, but we do need to be, number one, their role models, and make sure that we are making really good decisions for them, and the contents going in their brain. We think about what they're eating, we should think about also what they're exposing their minds to as well. So I'm going to end here. My children have been very cooperative, which I appreciate. And I just want to thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and share with your friends. We're just starting out, so appreciate little any sharing that you can do. And we hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day today. I'll pray for all you wonderful moms out there, and keep up the good work. It's a hard battle. Every day is a challenge, I know. But you're doing a fantastic job. And just being a parent is, hopefully you agree, the biggest blessing that you could ever have in your lives. Hope to hear from you soon, and have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.